कहा था ना, जीतेंगे तो हम ही।
Welcome to Toppers Talk series, and today I have with me CLAT 2024 topper Shaurya Tiwari. Shaurya is our 2 years classroom program student and he has secured an All India rank of 22. At this point in time, Shaurya has paved his way to the Harvard of East and he has made it to NLSIU Bangalore. The result is just out, and at this point in time, I have Shaurya with me. How do you feel, Shaurya, making it to Bangalore?
Thank you, sir. It's a nice feeling, sir, knowing that you worked hard and that it paid off. You finally made it. The excitement before CLAT, knowing that you've done what you needed to, and then that slight fear, what if I don't? That it's all over the moment you get that result, and the happiness you feel, it's a bliss when you go back to your family and you see the smiles on their face, knowing that they were there. They knew that you could do it. They were silent, but they were always there with you. And once they say that, yeah, you've made it, then it's the best feeling ever.
Sure, it was a feat achieved. Getting AR 22, and it is a good feeling for all your mentors, parents. But at this point in time, तुमने फाइनली रिजल्ट जब खोल के देख लिया तो फिर क्वेश्चन है कि क्या देखा, मतलब AIR 22 एवरीवन एल्स इज इंटरेस्टिंग। AIR 22 ने कितने क्वेश्चंस अटेम्प्ट किए थे, क्या स्कोर था? यू शुड मेक इट फॉर पीपल टू नो।
I had 120 attempts. After that, there were two questions withdrawn in the final answer key. So it was out of 118, and I got 101.75. That's 13 wrong. So the score was 101.75.
Because those two questions withdrawn were
Yeah.
not very good for us.
Yeah.
Anyways, sure, the exam is done, and at this point in time, so many students would love to seek inspiration from your journey. To begin your journey, I just say that you started early, and that gave you an advantage. Just after your class 10th was done, you have taken up a call that the calling within is that CLAT करना है, 12th के बाद लॉयर बनना है, उसकी पढ़ाई करनी है। तो क्वेश्चन ये है कि आफ्टर जस्ट पासिंग आउट क्लास 10th, how did you find that you should be doing law? What motivated you to opt for law as career and aspire for writing exams like CLAT?
Honestly, sir, I was clueless at the start. That juncture at 10th when they ask you what you want to become, I wasn't clear with that. I looked up the subjects I was strong in, so that I'm good in science, I'm good in maths. I was like, I don't know if this will last or not. I don't know if this is the level of maths that will get me through. And at the end, I drew it down to, there was software engineering on one side and there was law on one side. And law, because I was really, up there. I loved books. I excelled in English. I didn't study so much as I should have, but it was it came naturally. So social and English were subjects I liked, and I just searched of what would fit in. My dad's a lawyer, and that's something that kept me up there. I saw how he's been there, what he's gone through, and at the end of the day, the picture society is framing is not exactly what a lawyer is like. They're actually social engineers. Law is the base upon which society is thriving. You take that out and there's nothing left, there's chaos. So law was, I realized this later on, but it's a beautiful subject. And once I got to know that, I went through with it. And mainly it was because a conversation my dad had with one of his colleagues. They were talking about a lawyer who stood up against the company which was his own client. They said the judge asked him clearly if the compensation was enough for the said people, and he said that no, I don't agree with that. I think there should be this amount of compensation, which was a lot more than what the client was asking for. And he said, I'm not a mouthpiece for these guys, and that's the kind of lawyer I want to be. That sense of morality, those ethics, that is what I want to follow. And I want to follow in the footsteps of my dad. That's why I chose law.
Sure, this is something which is inbuilt in our system as well. We tell that students should be lawyers with spine, and it's beginning of the journey. So this one incident when you thought that yes, the field of law is for you and you could be one social engineer who could contribute to society, and I think that was a very good feeling. Sure, let me have one thing. I mean, you told that you were into reading books, you liked reading books a lot, and when it was a call between software engineering and law, you have chosen law because there were reasons you wanted to become a social engineer. More fully on this point, I would want to know that what all are the books that you have read, fiction, non-fiction, how much are you in love with that reading? Because what I know about you is the fact that when it comes to mobile phone or books, you would prefer books. I mean, this one message today, every law aspirant or every student in class 12 should take. This phone is taking away a lot from your life, and if the same amount of time you spend with books, you are a different person. So it's over to you, Shaurya. Be very, very clear about the fact that phone versus books, और question first is still कि कौन कौन सी book अभी तक पढ़ ली?
It's embarrassing, sir, but it's nothing out of the extraordinary that I was reading. I loved fiction. I started off. In fact, one of the first few books I remember reading was Hercules. Mythology always captured my attention. Those, ideal people, someone, humanity can't touch. Those feelings always run rampant. So I always had a knack for reading fiction. I dwindled with non-fiction for a while, but I couldn't really find my place there. So I stuck to fiction. I just went crazy with Rick Riordan, the Percy Jackson series, all of these things. It's
That
nothing
you
special.
completed entirely.
Yeah, I just went through with all the books that guy has written, and it's worth reading. I started off with Geronimo Stilton, those small books, but they had a lot of content in them. And Call of the Wild, such books, they build up a sense of fulfillment. Once you go through with them, you realize that, these books, yeah, I can read them again, and I know that I'll read them better. And the fact that you're a better person once you finish a book is more than enough a reason to read it. And nowadays, I think that sense of imagination, I read these books and I always had the character in mind. Those, these things ran in my mind, that this guy, he would look like this. This is what would happen in this fight. This scene is how I depicted it in my mind. And I realized that once I started, getting engrossed with my mobile, I started losing these things, and I didn't like that. Which is why I eventually thought that if I were to choose, then books are always my place, because there's something that will always add on to yourself, and it's a good feeling.
श्योर इट्स अ लवली फीलिंग. बहुत अच्छा लगता है जब एक 11वीं 12वीं का बच्चा इतनी सेंसिबल बात करता है कि ज़िंदगी में अगर चॉइस मुझे मिले तो मैंने फ़ोन छोड़ा और किताबें पकड़ी, और जब मैंने किताबें पकड़ी तो एक नई दुनिया खुल गई, और उस नई दुनिया को देखा मैंने तो दुनिया बेहतर लगने लगी. तो ये जो एक फीलिंग है, मुझे लगता है कि जितने भी आज बच्चे 12th के 11th के स्कूल गोइंग पास्ड आउट शौर्य को देख रहे हैं, एक चीज़ अमंगस्ट मैनी जो उसकी लाइफ में बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले कर रही थी, वो ये कि जब बहुत सारे बच्चे फ़ोन से एडिक्टेड है, दे नो गॉन मैड विथ फ़ोन. उस समय कोई बोल रहा है कि फ़ोन ज़्यादा फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता, साइड में रखा रहता है, बहुत ज़्यादा एडिक्शन नहीं है, बुक्स पसंद है, और दिन में अगर समय मिलता है तो मैं किताब पढ़ के ज़्यादा खुश रहता हूँ, और उसका जॉनर है फिक्शन. सबकी एक अलग चॉइस हो सकती है, सबका एक अपना टेस्ट है. ही वॉज इन लव विथ फिक्शन. आई नो वो सीरीज ही सीरीज निपटाता है फिर. एंड ही स्टार्टेड अर्ली, एंड आई थिंक द इन्वायरमेंट एट होम, पेरेंट्स, वो लाइक एक एम्बियंस क्रिएट कर पाए. सो आई विश दैट चिल्ड्रन दे स्टार्ट लविंग बुक्स, और फ़ोन से इस उम्र में थोड़ी दूरी शायद करियर के लिए, लाइफ के लिए, मेंटल हेल्थ के लिए ज़्यादा अच्छी है. सो वेल डन श्योर. आई मीन दीज आर फ्यू रीजन्स, एज अ स्टूडेंट आई हैव ऑलवेज लाइक्ड यू, बिकॉज दीज स्मॉल थिंग्स एड अप टू अ बिग डिफरेंस. श्योर, एक सिंपल सी बात, अब तुम्हारा क्लैट हो गया है, 11th 12th, अभी यूल बी हैप्पी रिलीव्ड काइंड ऑफ अ पर्सन के 12th तो मस्ती से दे लोगे, अच्छे नंबर लाना है, यू हैव टू क्रिएट अ ऑल टाइम हाई रिकॉर्ड देयर एज वेल. देखो एक छोटी सी बात आई वांट टू कन्वे हियर, जैसे एक छोटा सा डिफरेंस था, लोगों को दिखता नहीं कि किसी ने फ़ोन त्यागा है, मुक्त हुआ है उससे, किताबों में लिप्त हुआ है, जीवन में आनंद लिया है. प्रश्न मेरा यहाँ पे सिर्फ इतना है कि शौर्य, आज तुम्हारी AIR 22 आ गई, तुम्हारा क्लैट हो गया, तुम बैंगलोर जा रहे हो, इट्स वेरी गुड फीलिंग. ईमानदारी से एक बात बताओ, सब लोगों को लगता है इट कम्स वेरी इजी. मैं तुम्हारा शेड्यूल पर्सनली जानता हूँ. मैं हमेशा बोलता हूँ 5 AM क्लब हैज बीन समथिंग दैट विधिज्ञ हैज बीन वाउचिंग फॉर सिंस 2014. तब बुक भी नहीं लिखी थी एंड वी हैड अ 5 AM क्लब इन 2014. So I think that name came to us first. So we'll feel happy about it. और ये सिर्फ नाम ही रह जाए 5 AM क्लब तो मज़ा नहीं आता. तुम जैसे बच्चे इसको रियली यू मेक सेंस आउट ऑफ इट. आई वुड वॉन्ट टू नो दैट रियलिस्टिक पिक्चर. जितना मुझे समझ में आता है, यू आर नेवर नॉक्टर्नल. आजकल बच्चे बोलते हैं हम तो नाइट पर्सन है, रात भर जगते हैं वगैरह वगैरह. मुझे लगता है व्हेन इट कम्स टू मेमोराइजिंग, it doesn't help. And again, everyone is a different person, not everything works for everyone. पर तुम्हारे लिए I would want you to tell everyone कि ये सुबह उठने का शेड्यूल क्या था. दो आई नो के लास्ट के एक महीने में तो यू स्टार्टेड वेकिंग अप एट 3, बट द गुड पार्ट यू स्लीपिंग एट 9:30 10 मैक्स. तो आई वुड वांट लाइक नो बिग थिंग कम्स इजी. आसानी से तो नहीं मिला, मेहनत से मिला है, कंसिस्टेंसी से मिला है, परसिवरेंस से मिला है, और जब ये रेगुलरली करने लगो तो यू गेट इट विद ईज. तो क्वेश्चन ये है कि व्हाट वाज योर शेड्यूल ऑफ द डे. कितने बजे रेगुलरली सोते थे, उठते थे. 11वीं से तुमने शुरू कर दिया, क्लास 11th यू स्टार्टेड एंड देन यू वर इन 12th, और 12th में आने के बाद तो लगता है क्लैट भी पास में ही है. तो किस तरह का शेड्यूल रहता था, कितने बजे सोते थे, उठते थे, क्या करते थे दिन भर. दैट इज व्हाट आई वांट टू नो.
I have always been an early sleeper, and I enjoy that because I understand that after a point of time, once that cycle is set, you understand that this point of time, after this, you can't study well. And that point for me was around 9. And I say that after 9, anything I study is of waste. So I think rather than doing that, it's a very rational thing to do. Just wake up early. You want more hours rather than waking up at night, you can wake up early. And once you get that into habit, it doesn't affect you a lot. My thought process was initially I used to wake up at around 5, and at that point of time, in 11th, say, I wasn't really focused on CLAT as much as I should have been. But I woke up at 5, I'd go to school. Our school was relatively early, and I'd come back at around 1:15. I'd eat my food, and in 11th I wouldn't give a lot of time to CLAT too. I'd enjoy my day, play with my brother. I'd come to class, and I thought that bare minimum was more than enough for me. In fact, I even started reading those newspapers quite late. So it wasn't something that was very good in 11th, but later on I understood that now it's up to me. What I want to be is something I'll have to work hard for. So I started off late, but I started off with the fact that 5 a.m. I'd wake up, I'd read the newspaper, I'd either keep it in my bus and start reading it there. And I learned how to balance my school life with this CLAT, and understood that there is a time for everything, and I need to understand that this is the time for CLAT. So I started giving my preference over school to CLAT, and started studying GK and other subjects in school as well, until I was satisfied with it. So my schedule was with that thing in mind. And at the end, the 3 a.m. system, I started off with the simple thought in mind that on D-Day, I wanted it to be like I have the perfect amount of sleep and I don't need anything else. So I used to sleep early at say 9:30. I'd finish off my work, I'd set those targets, finish it off, and even if I don't, it's not that I can compromise on sleep there. So I'd sleep at 9:30, 9, wake up sometimes even earlier, and then wake up at 3. The moment I wake up, I'd just go splash some water on my face. Later on, it wasn't needed because I was used to it. It was cold at the end, so I always had that blanket clothes. It would be better if I just wore warm clothes because it gives a sense of comfort otherwise. So I'd wake up, study GK. It's very easy to memorize things at that point of time. And it's not something people have been saying just for the fun of it. It is actually completely rational. You wake up, you're fresh minded, you start learning something, revise it once, you're done with it. You don't need to do anything else after that. So that was my thinking for waking up at 3. And I made the fact perfect that on the day CLAT's there, I'd sleep at the same time, but I'd wake up late because now I don't have anything I have to do. So I'd get that amount of sleep because I'm used to waking up at 3. If I wake up at 5, I'll have more than enough sleep back then. So yeah, that was my thought process.
After so many years, I feel so happy, you know, a student coming up and telling कि 5 a.m. club works for me and it works really well. Sure, preparation में when you see, which were your favorite subjects?
It was legal and English.
Subjects which you were not very good at.
GK.
And we very well remember it was month of July. The CLAT mock test scores were screwed up. And one subject like used to be a subject which would have been a nightmare. Number out of 28. I mean, we had a pattern where God was kind. Very much close to CLAT. 12 maths mein, 28 GK mein, 32 legal mein. It was a very good prediction. Our paper had fallen that way. So out of 28, 3, 4, 5. कि जानना इसलिए ज़रूरी है because that was the situation in July. And that continued till August, September with slight improvisation. And वो last जो 2 months वाली कहानी थी, that changed the game. So how last 2 months and what went in your mind, क्या क्या हुआ, you, I mean, best explained in your words.
When I started off, at the beginning my scores were out of even 150, it was barely touching 30, 35, and it was a pitiable score. It wasn't something that I could ever be proud of. But I understood that the thing is I didn't put in effort back then. Even though everyone was yelling at me to analyze my mocks, I wouldn't do that. It came to me later that it's
After
important.
Prasad.
Yeah. I needed to understand after sessions with Kriti ma'am was the first one I realized this in, that I wasn't getting anywhere with the way I was going. So even though it was late, I did realize that I have to do something. And the fact that I was late didn't mean that I couldn't make it. It just meant that I'd have to work a lot harder. And that did happen. I had to keep up with everyone, working as hard as I could, because I understood that this is a competitive exam. There are people working when you're not. So you have to be that person who's working and not the person who's not. So later on, once I did start that strategy, GK was still a weak point. I started off with, I just thought that legal, English and CR is something that once you pick up the pace of it, then you start to understand that, yeah, this is the subject and this is how you can attempt it. So after my finals was when I actually started taking CLAT seriously. So back then I was scoring in the 30s, say 30, 40 out of 150.
In class 11th final, huh?
Yeah, around that time. And after that, I started attempting more. I used to focus on accuracy for whatever reason, I don't know. But after
अपने बनाए हुए हैं मोबाइल पे.
like it just felt nice, you know, attempts हो नहीं रहा 90% accuracy. It's very a happy feeling that okay, तेरे marks ज़्यादा है, but I got 90% accuracy, I'm happy. Like अगर मेरे 150 attempts होते तो उसमें 90% accuracy लगा लो. It doesn't work that way.
हाँ, it doesn't
It's
work.
as simple
But that
as that.
realization come late. It's off
It
late.
came late. And then I started working hard on it. I focused on legal, English and CR. I needed my reading speed up there. In 150 questions, I wanted to be at a comfortable zone where I can actually attempt these all. And I did. Later on, I did end up at the stage where out of 150, I know that I could attempt these and there's no way I won't. So to do that, I started with these 3 subjects in a go. I kept solving the modules, doing it until I was satisfied with the scores I started getting. Then I had to focus on GK, but I couldn't. I tried a lot. I started with newspaper mainly. The weekly roundups too, I tried, but sometimes I didn't. I wasn't able to follow through. But even though I started late, later on I knew that GK is something I shouldn't look anywhere else to. I noticed that the content they've given is more than, you can't finish it and be done with it. Even if you're done with it once, you'll have to do it multiple times. There's no way a person who joins the coaching, say 11th, has anything else he could do with. If he's done those questions, that material which the team has curated, it's more than enough. If he does that with the consistency and that amount of effort, and he remembers most of it, because you can't remember all of it, and even if you give your time to it. So I'd say that you don't have any shortage of things you want to do. If you want,
कंटेंट भर भर के
भर
था,
भर के है.
लेकिन शौर्य, दिस इज वेयर आई वुड वांट टू नो फ्रॉम यू कि कंटेंट तो भर भर के है, समीप सर का फंडामेंटल बहुत क्लियर है कि दिमाग नहीं लगाने का है, क्यूरेटेड कंटेंट है, देर आर टीम ऑफ 7-8 पीपल ऑल टाइम वर्किंग ऑन दिस, और जो कंटेंट तुम्हारे पास आता है उसके बार बार रिविजन्स कर लेना चाहिए. सो यू वर एबल टू रिवाइज इट, और मुझे लगता है कि लास्ट वीक तक यू वर रिवाइजिंग. सो जीके में हाउ मेनी रिविजन्स कंप्लीट कर पाए थे, क्योंकि तुम्हारे पास मंथली वो भी थे, मंथलीज, वीकली राउंड अप्स, और उसके बाद 5001, 2001 सारे वॉल्यूम्स. मुझे लगता है इट वाज सेकंड लास्ट डे व्हेन यू कुड कंप्लीट विद सारा क्वेश्चन को, और यू सेइंग कि आप नथिंग डूइंग. आई मीन इट वाज लास्ट डे ऑफ नवंबर इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग. इट्स डन, आई रिमेंबर दैट मैसेज. तो शौर्य, मुझे लगता है कि व्हेन आई सी योर ग्राफ, द मंथ ऑफ जुलाई, सितंबर वो स्टिल स्कैरी. वही 3-4 नंबर जीके में ला रहे थे. वी वर नॉट एबल टू गेट व्हाट वी वर रिक्वायर्ड टू. और मुझे लगता है कि द गेम चेंज्ड व्हेन यू नो यू, मी एंड योर फादर मेट. वो दिन जो था, एंड द वे योर फादर हैड टेकन दैट, कि every kind of a support system required, I am up for it, and the window that I need to create for him so that he can focus on CLAT and school को भी साथ में manage कर पाए. That was an important decision. So वो how do you recall वो PTM and वो सानिध्य session?
My state of mind before that session was, I had just started realizing that, it's not that I am not there, it's not an impossible task, I can make it. And I started feeling that now what's left is my efforts, and as much as I can do, I'll do. And I started getting that, because before the session I was at that stage where I was finally realizing that I have to do something about this. At the moment we came in and we met you, and the fact that I needed that reassurance that it's not too late. And with my dad, when I came to meet you, and the things you said, the fact that you told me that it's not too late, and that you made an exception for me, told me that I have something good and I can keep going, that helped me out a lot. And it was a turning point for me, because at that stage I realized that I can make it. This time I was sure. I knew that I have to trust what I'm given. I knew that I have to trust you, the team. And that's when I just stopped thinking and started working. That's something I had to do. I can't afford to think, because the only thing I can think about is the things I've been told to do. So that's what happened back then, and it helped me out a lot.
To everyone, let me tell you today about one thing about Shaurya, that after that meeting with his father and him, and then again he was there with me for Sunday session as well. There's one thing that I loved about this chap. Usually when students are here, I'll not speak good about them. Once they pass out, I mean they enjoy this feeling. And usually people, they're not there when I speak good about them. They're already in their law schools. One thing about this boy was consistency, perseverance. और उस दिन मैंने बोला था कि it's not too late. It's possible to hit it, and hit it big time. The only thing is POD or EOD. Plan of day or end of day rigorously कर लेना. I'll not ask you. I'll not be the one who will be after you anytime. That's not happening. You have to update me. This boy, since that day till the day of CLAT, made one thing sure कि POD और EOD messages कर लिया, इतना टास्क बनाया किया, and that had a very 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 good feeling within कि इस तरह का सेल्फ डिसिप्लिन है सेल्डम सी. बोला मैंने कई लोगों को होता है, पर बहुत कम लोग करते हैं, और जो लोग करते हैं आई थिंक गॉड हैज बीन काइंड. तो ऐसा बोलना चाहिए. Shaurya, at this point in time, there's so many students looking forward to you, trying to understand. तुम्हारी जर्नी क्लास 11th में ही शुरू हो गई थी, 2 साल तुम साथ में थे और विधिज्ञ परिवार का एक हिस्सा थे. तो बड़ी ईमानदारी से, बड़े हृदय से, आई वुड वांट टू नो फ्रॉम यू हाउ हैड बीन योर जर्नी एट विधिज्ञ में तुम्हारी यात्रा कैसी रही, क्योंकि ये यात्रा ख़त्म तो हो नहीं रही, इसका एक पड़ाव पूरा हो रहा है, और वंस अ विधिज्ञन इज ऑलवेज अ विधिज्ञन, तो दैट गोज विदाउट सेइंग. पर आई वुड वांट यू टू शेड सम लाइट अबाउट योर जर्नी एट विधिज्ञ, व्हाट मेक्स इट डिफरेंट, और अपनी एकेडमिक जर्नी के बारे में भी, क्या हुआ, कैसा था, सब कुछ जो तुम्हें लगता है दैट मेक्स सेंस टू यू.
Yes, sir. I was honestly very lucky that I was able to come to Vidhigya, because back then I had no idea what coaching is good for this. I didn't know anyone who had attempted CLAT very recently, so I didn't know what's up. Luckily, I came up with Vidhigya, and I gave sir a call. I was like, I am in this school, I study these subjects, I want to join. And then the next day I went to Vidhigya and I noticed first thing the moment I came in, I started noticing that this place, there's something different about it. And once you experience that, you understand that Vidhigya is not your average institute. The moment you get to know the teacher, the faculty there, you understand that these guys are working for you. I'd say that something or the other was added on. My family, my friends, Vidhigya, everyone has contributed a lot to who I am today. In fact, I'd say that the moment I got into Vidhigya and the day today, I've changed by milestones. It's not just the fact that I started studying better, the fact that I've become a person I'd say that I couldn't look up to back then, but now I know that yeah, I'm there where I wanted to be. I'm there academically, I'm there ethically. I know that I'm there as a person. I've become better, and I'd say Vidhigya, all the credit goes to Vidhigya and the teachers. They're just fabulous. The team, they're curating content. You don't know how many people are working at the back end. It's what's keeping the whole thing going. It's like a big family and everyone's working at it, and they want the best for you, and that's all you can ask for. If you find a teacher that's guiding you, someone who's doing what's best for you, you know it, and that moment you should understand that the second you know that a person wants the best for you, you have to give everything up. That person has more expertise than you and he wants the best for you. It's your deadliest combo. The moment you start working on it, the things they say, you're destined for getting results. There's nothing worse. Luck can only come down, factor it down to say a few marks, and those few marks will cost you a few ranks at most. But at the end of the day, if you followed through what they've said and what they've asked you to do, then there's nothing you should be scared of, and the results are just results at the end of the day.
It's a lovely feeling to hear that from you, Shaurya. And I recall last year Tushar and this year you, when particularly the question of faith comes in, तो तुम लोगों को बोल दो 2 और 2 200 है, तो तुम लोग बोलते नहीं थे 199 है या 201 है, 2 और 2 200 है तो है. And the way, I mean, and I think for any mentor it's a good feeling when students get to understand कि जो बोला जा रहा है उसमें दिमाग नहीं लगाना है, just do it and finish it off and keep it simple. Shaurya, class 11th you joined, starting early was an advantage. I would just want to know कितने mocks लिखे और बड़ा honest analysis mocks कैसे थे?
The mocks were
Number of mocks कितने लिख लिए होंगे?
About, I'd say there were more than 90 mocks I'd given, and I'd say that mocks are like everything. At the end of the day, the weekend when you get the mock is where you know that have you actually made any progress that week. It's a reality check. If your scores are dwindling rather than increasing, even though the mock's difficulty is the same, you know you're doing something wrong. And that reality checks, once you get it, you start understanding. Once you're mature enough to understand that, you'll get to know that those scores are not going to get you in. And once you know that and you start analyzing your mocks, you understand that that's a huge corpus of knowledge. There are 120 questions in each mock, 150 back then, and these questions, they add up to a lot. And those questions, once you get them right, it doesn't matter what the score you get. If I used to get 30 marks, but I'm here today because I know that those 30 marks were not what defined that mock. It's rather the remaining 90. Those 120 questions you had to analyze there's no ifs or buts. You had to analyze them, and once you get them, you're at the same level. Everyone's at that equilibrium once you all analyze it, and they're not going to. You need to understand that if you're giving it your all, it doesn't mean that everyone will. And the moment you start giving it your all, you won't even know how quickly you'll start getting up there. I started off with the score, and I had people I always looked up to, that these guys are already scoring so much. But I worked harder, I worked consistently, I analyzed those mocks, and I got up there. And these guys, they didn't because they got conceited. It's as simple as that. Anyone can make it big in CLAT.
Sure, a very personal question that adds a lot of value to law aspirants, especially the students, those who are retakers. उनको एक FOMO होता है, और ये मैंने कई सालों से देखा है. People who make it to Bangalore, they keep it simple. वो बहुत ज़्यादा कुछ करते नहीं है, जो बोला जाए simply कर लेते हैं and they make it large. but want a very honest answer कि अपनी preparation में I see these days we live in an era of data pollution. भर भर के Telegram पे people are uploading lot of content, lot of mocks and everything. बड़ा ईमानदारी का question है, have you ever seen or downloaded or used any content on GK or on legal or any mock test which is available on some free Tom Dick and Harry channel or whatever? I mean very honest answer, because जिनको FOMO होता है वो देखते हैं, फिर एक abundance create कर लेते हैं and they do nothing. तो मेरा कहना है कि this is a common problem which I see and it's indeed a problem. I tell every student wherever you are studying, whoever your mentors, trust them, वर्क अकॉर्डिंग टू देम. ये बहुत सारा जो ये इकट्ठा कर लेते हो, कहीं भी किसी की भी बात मान लो, यू एंड अप इन बिग कंफ्यूजन एंड केओस. तो द क्वेश्चन इज, कभी ऐसी फीलिंग आई कि कोई और कंटेंट देखना चाहिए या कोई और मॉक टेस्ट सॉल्व करके देखना चाहिए या कोई और टेस्ट सीरीज कहीं और से कुछ लेने वेने का मन हुआ कभी? कंटेंट वैसे बहुत सारा लगता था.
I couldn't complete that content, not even once. I later on understood that yeah, I could revise it twice, but that's only because I just worked like hell for that. You can't get that content over with and you want to move on to a content which is inferior. That's just stupidity. These guys that told you they're working like hell. There are people who know what these questions mean and how relevant they are, and these questions are relevant. You won't believe it. These questions, the level they are at, they might be tough for you, but that's readying you. The moment you get ready for a level that's this high, you can't struggle with something that's this low. And that's the basic funda of these tests, these mocks, and this content you have is more than enough. If you revise these, all of this content thrice and 4 times, then I'd say you've already done more than enough. You don't need to do anything else. Don't look out for these channels, they'll ruin it. The perspective you build up on your own and at Vidhigya, well, these guys will ruin it, and I know that for sure, because at the end, after CLAT, that was the first time I opened up a different channel. I felt like I needed to understand that, what my score would be like. And the moment I saw the quality of teaching, I understood that these guys don't know what they're talking about. They're just speaking stuff out of, nowhere, and they'll not teach you the right stuff. They'll pollute your mind. The things you've got going right will start going wrong, and that's something you'll never want. You have got your hands full with Vidhigya. Don't go for a different place. It's as simple as that. Do what you can, and once you're done with it, be satisfied. Don't move on. It's as simple as that. And I don't think it's easy to get done with this content anyways.
So you never even, you did not take any test series, you did not take any content, but my question, you never even felt like for that?
No, I don't know if everyone could relate to that, but I had that sense of security. I knew that I don't need anything else, and even if I did ever went to it, what happiness would I get if I say attempted a mock that was a level below Vidhigya's, and see even if it was irrelevant and I got a score there? It's a false sense of fulfillment. They're just giving you the carrot and not showing you the stick. They're not showing you that it's an exam, it's a rational game, it's 120 questions, 120 minutes, and if you're acting like an idiot, you're not going to make it. So at the end of the day, I didn't have anything. I had my hands full, and I've been a straightforward person. I didn't want to look at any other channel, and it's as simple as that, because
I got to know it now that you said कि मैंने पूरी जर्नी में कभी नहीं देखा, क्लैट खत्म होने के बाद देखा और फिर लगा देख के कि नहीं देखना ही सही निर्णय था. It's a happy feeling for us, and we'll also try to keep the benchmark higher, and we'll try to ensure that the best of academics and pure academics, no hype is what we say, we'll try to ensure. Sure, एक और चीज़, बहुत सारा हल्ला है यूट्यूब पे, टेलीग्राम पे, बहुत सारा कचरा भी है और बहुत सारा स्टफ पड़ा रहता है, students in times of strategy and all. So do you think, what's your personal opinion कि क्या इतना टाइम भी होता है और क्या वो टाइम इन्वेस्ट करना बनता है? बहुत सारे टेलीग्राम चैनल्स, बहुत सारा ये, बिकॉज आई बिलीव दैट, मेरा पर्सनल टेक तो ये है कि वेर एवर यू आर, जहाँ भी पढ़ते हो ईमानदारी से पढ़ो, जो मेंटर्स बोल रहे हैं मान लो, और अगर तुम्हें सब पढ़ना है तो हमेशा कन्फ्यूजन रहेगा. सो बिकॉज आई फील ऑल द लास्ट ईयर्स इफ वी सी, तो देयर इज नेवर बीन अ केस. आई मीन यू शुड बी क्लियर, यू डू इट एंड यू मूव ऑन. तो व्हाट इज योर पर्सनल टेक अबाउट द clutter at YouTube and Telegram? You've personally not seen it, तो फिर मतलब how do you see, मतलब what's your opinion?
I'd say that if you're looking at content other than what you're already used to, this content you've been accustomed to, the moment you start attempting these mocks, you start developing a sense of, yeah, this is the question, this is how it should be attempted. And you lose that sense the moment you start going for a different material. You will become a jack of all trades, but you will master none. It's as simple as that. The moment you start running around, you'll be a headless chicken. What are you going to accomplish being a headless chicken? It's nothing. I'd say that I don't think I find it amusing that people think they have the option of going for anything else. You have your hands full with this. Do you think you're accomplished enough to move on to something else? It's a harsh statement, but I say you're not qualified enough to do that. These guys are working at it. They've been at it for longer than you know, and they've seen students, and I know for a fact that there are people who went through with this and they regret it. And I'd say I don't want anyone else to regret it. It's stupid. Don't do that. Just stick to it. And if you ever have any doubts, then just come talk to sir. He'll clear it out in a moment.
शौर्य, लास्ट डेज में जो हम लोगों ने 40-45 मैराथन्स की थी, आई फील हैप्पी कि वो पांचों पैसेजेस लीगल रीजनिंग के वो हमारे क्लास में किए हुए थे और पेपर इतना सड़ा आया. तो सड़े पेपर को डी डे के दिन जो मैनेज करना था, बिकॉज यू नो पेपर सड़ा हो या अच्छा हो, पेपर इज पेपर. वन हु नो हाउ टू हैंडल इट इज द पर्सन हु इज गोइंग टू विन. पेपर फॉर एवरीवन, वी अंडरस्टैंड दैट द बेंचमार्क वाज नॉट एज यू नो इट यूज्ड टू बी. वेरी डिफरेंट पेपर, बट अडेप्टिंग योरसेल्फ is something which is an art. So tell me about the D-Day. How was it, and कैसे पेपर को अप्रोच किया?
I'd say that, sir, I always knew that there are two possibilities for CLAT. Either it turns out really tough, and that's something we'd already practiced for. I'd say there's nothing that could have been tougher than those sessions, and I know that for a fact. Because once we go through that, we know that there's nothing they can throw at us which we can't deal with. So I'd say, in fact, if the paper was tougher, I'd say that it was easy, because then you don't have any scope for your mental activity to get in there. But I also knew that if that wasn't the case, then the paper would be easy. And that's where your mind comes into play, because the moment everyone can make it, the person who has the most straightforward mind, someone who looks at it the way he'd look at every other mock of his, he'll make it, because simply not because he was prepared or if he was prepared more than others, but because of the fact that his mind was like that. People will let it get to their nerves. They'll think that, okay, the paper is easy, I'll just go on with it. And they sometimes start to forget that, the paper is easy, it means there's room for error now. The second you make a silly mistake, that would be acceptable in mocks, but the moment you make it in real life, you're out of the game. And you can't afford to make those mistakes at the D-Day. To do that, you need to have a crystal clear mind about what you need to do. At the end of it, I wasn't preparing anything. I had my GK sorted out with, and even if I didn't, I wouldn't do anything special for the last 2 days, because I know that I had to get my mind in there. Ever since the start, I told you that I started waking up early, because I knew that the D-Day is an important time. You can't afford to make anything. You need to be at your best physically and mentally. Everyone has different faiths, but I went to the temple. I had to go there. I had to take my parents, my grandparents, their blessings, and I needed to know that they're there for me. And the moment they are, it's a good feeling. So once you know that you've done with the prep, even if you've not, your mind is a weapon you can't lose. If you've honed it enough, then it will always give you an edge above others. And that edge is all you need. Because when the game is not about numbers anymore, it's about the mind. So that's how I think it was important to get through at the D-Day.
Sure, we talked so many things when, and other toppers have come down, they met you when it was the sessions of Shankhnad. Sure, exactly D-Day wale din I could recall a very funny incident that, chocolate, you had your birthday on 25th. Yeah. 25th of November, and you told कि sir birthday तो 3 तारीख को ही मनाऊंगा मैं. My birthday is on 3rd, and you should meet me at center and bring a chocolate for me. वो जो अधिकार से तुमने बोला, I really loved it. And उसके बाद तुम अंदर चले गए एग्जाम देने. तो मुझे बताओ पेपर शुरू कैसे किया, जीके देखा, you found it कि नहीं ट्रिकी है, टाइम कैसे मैनेज किया, वो अंदर जाने के बाद Huh, the chocolate thing was funny, but I kept my words.
Yeah, for sure. I had my birthday earlier back then, but I understood that, at the end of the day, it's a year and you can always celebrate these things later on. I asked you for a chocolate because I wanted you to be there, and it was at the end of the day, it helped me out a lot. I got,
नहीं,
I felt calm.
वो फीलिंग भी बहुत अच्छी लगी मुझे. और दूसरी चीज़ ये कि I'll miss out if I don't mention that fact, the way your younger brother, he contributed. You used to keep your phone on the airplane mode, and any time एक छोटा सा मैसेज मैं भेजता तो you used to tell me कि और भाई श्लोक is your brother, right?
Yeah.
तो श्लोक वो दौड़ता वो फ़ोन लेकर भैया मैसेज आया है. तो ये सारी छोटी छोटी चीज़ें इट काउंट सो मच. तो डी डे वाले दिन यू स्टार्टेड अ पेपर विद जीके. देन आई मीन सीक्वेंस क्या था?
GK, the same sequence, like is GK first, legal second. That's something I won't compromise on. Then it comes a bit to your preference. Mine was logical first, English, and QT. So I used to take logical, then do QT, and then English at the end. But what I realized at the end was that the paper wasn't exactly conventional. When I read it for the first time, the gaze and gauge thing, I came to know that the GK this time, it was something you would have to read the passage for, because there were questions that you couldn't answer without actually understanding the passage. Like if they ask you out of nowhere that which of these contributed most to India's success, you don't know. Tata is a huge giant, ISRO is, now you have to read that passage. So I understood that 10 minutes is not going to cut it. So I gave extra time only because I was sure that logical and English was short this time. It was 4 passages and I know that I could manage that. So I gave a little more time to GK this time. It was around 20 minutes I gave. And then after that, even if there was anything left, I moved on to legal, because notwithstanding anything, that's a limit I set for myself, that I cannot give more time to this. Then I moved on to maths. Took me a little more time than I wanted to, but I ended it there at the first passage. I knew that I didn't have enough time for the second, so then I moved on to English. Then I finished English, and luckily it was finished early. Then I went back to maths, and at the final second, I'd say, the invigilator just told us that the time is over, and just 5 seconds before that was when I finished my calculation and I marked the question at the end. And I just smashed my pen and she said, okay, it's over now. I was like, that was the amount of time I had to give to GK, and I had to manage the other sections really. It was a game of seconds at the end.
तो क्या लगता है, I mean, mocks at Vidhigya versus real exam, how do you differentiate?
I'd say that if you gave the real exam thinking of it as a mock at Vidhigya, you'd really be in for a surprise. It's good knowing that, because you've been there, you've done those mocks so many times that it's almost habitual now. And if you can look at D-Day the same manner, then it will help you a lot. I'd say that mocks at Vidhigya were actually at that level where sometimes I'd feel like, no, I'm not up to it yet. And I'd look at them and I'm like, how can I get more marks here? Like, there is always scope for improvement, and that's something that will always push you. If you had mocks where you'd already started scoring, say 24 on 24 on English and all these subjects, then you get that image that, I'm there, maybe it's more than enough, but it's not. At the end of the day, you can never be more ready. So these mocks, they always kept me on toes, that, the moment I started getting comfortable with the subject, they'd throw a mock where I messed up in it. So I felt like, yeah, those mocks were crucial. Their analysis was even more crucial, and a person who analyzes it well would make it. It's as simple as that.
Shaurya, important thing that I ask you now, since you have achieved a feat, AIR 22, NLSIU, Bangalore, Harvard of East, so on and so forth, सब बढ़िया. पर ये 2 साल की यात्रा में I would want to know what was the support system, because I know your younger brother. I know for the fact that your father is an inspiration. I know for a fact that your mother and her dedication. I know for a fact that your friends. I would want you at this point in time to acknowledge everyone who mattered to you in achieving this feat.
Say first and foremost, it was my family. My dad was the source of inspiration for me to go through with this. and at the end of the day, it's what kept me on my toes. My mom was always there to give me a reality check that this is not going to be enough. The moment I started dwindling, even if I didn't, she'd always be there to let me know that no, you need to give more time. And that's something I really needed back then. And my younger brother, luckily 7 years younger than me, it's a stage where you can really love your brother at that age. So the moment I see that, I always had that sense of security that okay, if not for anyone else, at least I have to make it for him. So he was always there. We sleep together anyways. So even if I had thoughts, midnight thoughts are a killer, but the moment I was with him, I knew that it's okay. And then again, I realized something later on, that friends were those who understood that I needed my time back then, and friends were those who made sure that we celebrated it with perfection at the end. We gave it all a time to ripen, and then the fruit was there. I know that there were people, it's not easy giving someone that much space, but they did, and I thank them for that. And at the end, they were there with me even when I celebrated this feat, and the fact that they were there the moment I got my rank is, I'd like to thank them for that. And at the end of the day, nothing would be possible without my teachers, especially my mentor Bahul Sir. You helped me out a lot. Without you knowing, it was at times you wouldn't even know the things you've done. The fact that you've always been there is more than enough to keep me on my toes and get me there. I know that at least I have to make this man proud. And my teachers, everyone, Sameep sir, faculty, the team at Vidhigya, I'd like to thank them all for it.
So Shaurya, 3 things that you think that every law aspirant must have, 3 qualities जो एक CLAT aspirant की होनी चाहिए. Over to you.
I'd say consistency, perseverance, and at the end of the day, you need to trust your mentors.
Great, candid reply. Shaurya, एक क्वेश्चन कई बार स्टूडेंट्स दे कम अक्रॉस के 12th के साथ क्या क्लैट पॉसिबल है, और तुमने कर दिया दो, पर वो होता कैसे है? व्हाट इज दैट मैजिक और व्हाट इज दैट डिसिप्लिन दैट यू फॉलो टू मेक इट पॉसिबल?
I'd say at the end of the day, you need to realize that CLAT and boards are a different ball game. First of all, if you're in 11th, then you can afford a lot of time to CLAT. You can give that amount of time because you know that this juncture at 11th you're at, it'll especially not make sense later on. It will not be helpful to you. And in 12th, you can always cope up with that because it's in a sense repetitive or irrelevant later on. So I'd say that in 11th, at the bare minimum, you can always prioritize CLAT. And in 12th, there's always the question of whether you can or not, whether it's up to your abilities or not. But at the end of the day, you need to realize there's a line you need to draw. At a certain point of time, say, when you realize that July is approaching, you need to start giving more time to CLAT and have faith in the fact that you can actually, come back strong in boards. Because at the end of the day, especially in humanities and commerce, you can manage. And I know that for a fact. You can always manage after CLAT. You can crack boards and you can crack it like a champ. So I'd say that CLAT can always have more time and boards can always have less in that sense.
The 3 best things that you like about Vidhigya?
First off, it's obviously the faculty here. Each one of them will help you out and they'll always be there for you. It'll be a significant add-on to your journey. Each of these teachers, they're always, adding on something, and I thank them wholeheartedly for that. And then the next thing I'd say is the content. The mocks here, it's curated, it's relevant, it's cold and hard facts, nothing more than that. And then I'd say the ambience. It's something that always struck me hard. The fact that Vidhigya always feels like a home. It's safe. The friends here, everyone you know, the teachers, they'll always make you feel comfortable. And that's what I love about Vidhigya.
So finally, it was wonderful talking to you, Shaurya, and I think the insights that you shared, the journey of your preparation will inspire many law aspirants, and I am very sure that many of your friends would listen to you this year. and would be thankful to you next year. So it's a wonderful feeling, sure. Wish you a lot of success. It's just beginning of a journey. I am sure that we are heading towards adding an asset to the fraternity. What I say is a very big statement, and I'm sure you'll live up to it. What is your message for students, those who are aspiring for CLAT? कि जो अभी CLAT की तैयारी कर रहे हैं उनके लिए क्या मैसेज होगा?
I'd say that CLAT is as rational as it gets. It's 120 questions, 120 minutes. Everyone will tell you that. And I'd say that you have to aim for those 120, and that's what Sir has always been telling me. And just shut up and get on with it. What they tell you, do it. It's more than enough. Have confidence in yourself. I hope that every one of you knows that the fact that there is a seat for you at Bangalore, and that seat is yours and yours only. You need to realize that it's not something that's easy, and it's not something that's hard. It's something that's as simple as efforts. The moment you start realizing that those efforts are more than enough, you'll understand that it's not a game of luck, talent, or anything. Luck will only get you so far. At the end of the day, it's your efforts that matter, and I hope that every one of you gets that. I'm always there, the team is always there. I hope you can always reach out to us, and even the smallest and silliest of times when you need any sort of support, they're always there for you. And so I hope that I can see you all in Bangalore soon.
And you have to keep coming to the
For
center
sure.
and keep mentoring the students and helping them out, because there's a legacy since 2014. This word topper stop we coined then. Now it's though used by everyone, but you coined then, and the purpose is the person who got through. Next year when he comes the other side and tell other persons and the students that his journey has been so and so, it's a good feeling, Shaurya. And I expect this to happen, that once you get through, I'll make sure that wherever you are in this world, जब sessions हों शंखनाद के, so come and meet your friends. Last year you were this side, next year you be that side. And when you be that side and when you tell them that, you show them the mirror and reveal the reality, it adds to a lot of inspiration. Last year we see Tushar, Mridul, Saksham, they all coming down to Indore, taking a session with you, discussing their feelings with you, and they were all real. At times everything, the emotions, the facts, everything was so real. तो वो अब तुम लोगों को भी करना ही है. It's a legacy, वो तो continue रहेगी. So finally, it was wonderful talking to you, Shaurya, and I think the insights that you shared, the journey of your preparation will inspire many law aspirants, and I am very sure that many of your friends would listen to you this year and would be thankful to you next year. So it's a wonderful feeling, Shaurya. Wish you a lot of success. It's just beginning of a journey. I am sure that we are heading towards adding an asset to the fraternity. What I say is a very big statement, and I'm sure you'll live up to it. So at the end, once a Vidhigyan,
Always a Vidhigyan.
all the best.
Thank you, sir.